Yeah, I was just telling my son that things like this are a product of family. Family, we did this. We made these things. Not foreign invaders, but our direct ancestors made these things. Family, bloodlines. The Honorable George A. Reisner, very important guy. Very, very important. Look him up, George A. Reisner. Let's see what else we can find real quick in this particular room. Just doing a quick walkthrough. Not gonna go into any names or anything. These are some Nubian exhibits and Egyptian exhibits, son. My son's name is Amani. Look at this. Don't touch. King's bodily daughter, Meres Ankh. Her name is Great of Perfection, the King's wife, Meres Ankh. These are the things we used to bury our royalty in. And this is a small example. Come on, let's move. So I couldn't find y'all. Good, good. We have found the great treasure.
Once we do the movie thing, we come back and back up our steps, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But you know, I like the fact we enter the Kushite gallery here.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I love the fact that they have Kemetic and Kushite artifacts mixed together, suggesting that there was actually
the family relation, right?
Yes. I mean, you see here.
I'm listening.
Still a third, a double third.
Get it, man. Pick it up.
Chris. This is an altar from Chippewa.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, now we're starting to enter, you know, the Kushite galleries. You can actually see Taharka here being held up by the deity Heru and Jehuti by the holes of the sky. And they hold them on the balance of truth with the two papyrus and lotus plants.
Yeah, that's Jehuti, right?
Yeah.
And this is Heru?
Yes.
And that's Taharka in the middle. Come on, Amani, we're moving on. Most of these kings in Nubia and even the queens, they had the name Ammon inserted into their name. Ammon. Like... This is who?
Taharka. I'm sorry, it's Alamani.
Okay, this is Atlamani, right? Amani, his name is Atlamani. Atlamani. This is Aspelta?
Yes, it's Aspelta.
Aspelta is an interesting figure. He basically wasn't having it. They told him to commit suicide, and instead he killed the priests. And that was the beginning of a new era and the end of an old era. So this is a papyrus right here. This whole thing represents a papyrus column. This column right here. Okay, this is lotus I'm looking at. That's papyrus. Yo, this is great, man. We did this for so many reasons. There's so much significance to all of these things. And the mysteries are still being unraveled. And the relationship between Kemet and Kush was written in stone. Come, son. What you got? Oh, yeah, we're coming back. We're coming back.
You got my brand or seven, Ty King. As far as, like I said, you better make sure that we got 4 hours. Okay, that's what I'm saying. We got to get the question back here, too. You know, people will be inquisitive. It's a lot of information.
Upper Nile Research Society. Will Smith, you might want to contact us real quick.
What's that? Right here, we're standing in front of what they refer to in the ancient world as a loincloth. And most people will always say that King Tut, or the tomb of the Nusukbet, or the pharaoh Tutankhamun, was the first intact tomb found. That is actually incorrect. The first intact tomb found in the Valley of the Kings was by a man named Hopper. This is actually his loincloth here. And his name actually translates as the lion of the battlefield. And one of the things that's most significant about Mahabra is because when they excavated his tomb, kind of screwed him up in a way because they saw the detailed work on the Book of the Dead, on the coming forth by day. It depicted the person in the scene as in black paint as opposed to red, a traditional red which represents the earth, the resurrection, and rebirth. And when they did an excavation of his mummy,
Continue.
I don't want that in there, man.
Continue on, please.
Hold on a second.
So when they did excavation work on his mummy, all right, I'm gonna start over again, man. There's no way to start from the top, please.
The question is raised: what was the first intact tomb found in the Valley of the Kings? The overwhelming majority of people will answer the tomb of Tutankhamun. But in fact, the first intact tomb was found perhaps maybe 40 years prior to that in the tomb of Mahabra. Mahabra lived during the 18th dynasty, around the same time of Tutankhamun, but his tomb was the first intact tomb found. Here you can see his loincloth, which was actually taken from his tomb. And it's very interesting because the American University in Cairo published a book several years ago called The Complete Valley of the Kings. And then they had an excerpt from the archaeologists that excavated his tomb, and it said that when they did the detailed examination of the mummy, they found that Mahabra was Negroid, but not Negro. To give you an example of how the Nile Valley has been reclassified in terms of different African groups, and they consider some African groups African and others not to be. This is why it's very significant to not use that word Nubian when describing a group of people, because there was no such thing as a Nubian people. There was a Nubia, no such thing as a Nubian people. The Nile Valley is, in much cases, was made up of different tribes. People understand the tribes and the different factions, not one complete group as Nubians. And that becomes particularly more significant when we use that word Nubian to become synonymous with black. Because once we say that, well, these are the Nubians or the blacks, we're suggesting or we're eliminating a whole other half of our race.